Welcome to Shit Black Girls Watch podcast, where we break down film, sex, and black girl magic one episode at a time. I'm your host, Mia Dene, along with my bestie, Trish, and we are back on the mic bringing you the real on what's worth watching, what had us screaming at the television screen, and why black women always bring the flavor to the culture.
That's right. We're talking deep dives, wild takes, and a whole lot of laughs, all from two besties who love TV just a little too much. If the world is watching, we're definitely talking about it. Let's get into it.
So today's topic, we are talking about GOAT buddy comedies. Yes, we're discussing some of the best buddy comedies that we think are the best buddy comedies and some of our favorites. But before we get into the topic, let's discuss a little bit of our thoughts of the week. So I feel like my thought of the week is a little, I don't want to say intense, but this past week, I've really been thinking a lot about just like where I am on my life journey. Part of me is like, a part of me is thinking like, dang, like, did I follow through on some of the things I should have followed through? Like, if I would have kept going down this path, this is where I would have been. Like, I'm just thinking a lot about like my career and what shifts I should make, especially as like being a full-time entrepreneur. I feel like a part of me is like, should I go back to corporate America so I can get these benefits and all these other things, or should I like do this? So it's been a lot of like reflecting for me this past week.
I would say same. Before I respond to that, I like to hear your thoughts about like whether or not you feel like you're on the right path.
I think I'm on the right path, but sometimes I question if I pivot too early or if I give up on something too quickly. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, with like building Shit Black Girls Watch and
Mm-hmm.
building my media company, like before we were doing Shit Black Girls Watch, we took a hiatus. I
Mm-hmm.
started another podcast called God's Favorite Creative, which I did one season of, and it was like did really well and it was like building momentum, but then I just kind of stopped it and focused back on Shit Black Girls Watch. So a part of me wonders like, dang, should I have focused more on other parts of my business versus this part of my business? But I do feel right now I'm aligned, I think, because I don't see the growth as quickly as I would like. Like I
Mm.
have the vision, but it's not coming as fast as I would want. So then it makes me question if I should be doing something different, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, in my mind, you know me, I just kind of be doing shit and I don't think about it. I
But I
just
feel like you follow through with the shits.
I
That's
do.
why.
I do, but that's because like once I decide to do something, I tell people this all the time. Like my mom used to say, like, you don't do shit when you're supposed to or when people tell you to, but when I decide to do something, like nothing stops me. And I think that's a matter of like I was thinking the other day about like manifestation and how it really is just decision. Once
Mhm.
you decide to do something, the only result of that, I mean, really decide, not like you're still on the fence, not like you're still trying to figure things out. Once you really decide and stick to it, the only thing that can come as a result of that decision is, the actualization of whatever that idea or process was. So, like for me, I think I have been on the fence about, whether or not getting a doctorate was worth it. And that's because, like, finding a teaching job in a social science major is not the easiest. Shout out to
Mm-mm.
all the STEM girlies. Y'all are winning. So it's just been a process of like, now I got all this debt. And even when you like told me my degree came to the house, I was like, can you show it to me? Maybe I'll feel something. But one of my students actually came up to me and she was telling me like she was calling me doctor, and I was like, you never started calling me that, so don't call me that. I was being like, like we're friendly. And she was like, I know you're joking. She's like, but really, as a person who also wants to be a doctor, it's really important to see someone like you doing what you're doing and being able, like she was acting like it was an honor to call me doctor. And when she
It
said that,
is like you put in the work for that title.
yeah, but it's almost like you get the title, and I think people think you have a doctorate means you're making like a bunch of money or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I don't understand. You did not go to school this long to make money. I promise you. So I have been thinking about that and like what I'm going to do with it and all these other things. And I think at this point, I'm just kind of still on the fence. But I feel like once I decide what direction I want to go with this and what direction I want to go with like making money and things like that, like again, it's just going to happen. I think I'm just
Hmm.
in a place of like a lot of indecision, and I'm okay with that. Like I need a break from deciding things. I decided to buy this house, and I just be jumping into shit, and it's like, did I have any money to buy this house? No, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know how to answer that question. I think we're all kind of just floating on a rock in space, and
Yeah, and it's not a question to be answered. It's literally just a thought. These are my
right,
thoughts this week. So it's not really like I'm looking for advice. I know for me, I'm the type of
mm-hmm.
person that I've always done a thousand things since I was like in middle school, high school. I was like in every club, played every sport. So like doing a
Yeah,
lot has just always been a part of my DNA.
yes,
And then it's also just like, I'm the type of person that once I realize something isn't working, I'm instantly like, okay, what's the better solution? Like, let's do that. And I think that sometimes causes me to feel like I'm not doing enough because
mm,
I'll shift whenever I feel like I need to shift. And some people will be like, well, we didn't reach this goal, so we
mm,
need to hit that goal before we shift. And I'm like,
that's
well,
me.
if we shift, then we can hit the goal. So that's kind of how my mind works. And I think I'm just in a place where it's like, once you jump out on a limb and are not in corporate America anymore, it feels like there's
Mm-hmm.
really no structure. So I'm creating my own career path. And I
Yep.
think that's what's really like new for me in a sense.
And it's hard to do something that hasn't been done. And that
Yeah.
means like whatever your career path is or whatever it is you're creating, because again, you're not in corporate America. So it's not like you're finalizing somebody else's idea that's already been started or anything like that. It's hard to do something that's not been done. I think on the opposite end of you, I never have a plan B. There's only plan A for me. Whatever I decide is plan A is the shit that's getting done. There's no pivoting, there's no deviations. I'm like a billy goat climbing a mountain at a 90-degree angle. I'm getting up that fucking mountain. They climb mountains at 90-degree angles and shit. Like billy goats are crazy. So it's like, but they're persistent. And I use them as an example all the time because it's like, there's no other way for me to go. Like, I'm not going back down. I'm not turning around. I'm not going sideways. I'm not staying where I'm at. I can only go up. That's how I move. So for me, it's like, again, once I decide whatever plan A is the plan. That's it.
Mhm.
That's all it can be. So, yeah.
Well, let's transition. Let's get into the episode.
Okay.
I appreciate the thoughts of the week because me and you don't talk as much
I
anymore.
know. We have to catch
So
up.
it's like we're catching up. But
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so for our intro question for this episode, what buddy comedy would you greenlight as a sequel, and what would the plot look like 20 years later?
That is a good question. And I would probably do, honestly, of the ones we're talking about,
It doesn't have to be the ones we're talking about. It can be.
oh, I would probably do shit. I wasn't prepared for a broader.
I
I
know, right?
mean,
Okay, just do the ones we're talking about because I
okay.
can't think of anything else either.
Okay. Buddy comedies that I would do. Actually, I would do a sequel to other ones we're talking about. I would do a sequel to Girls Trip. I feel like that is a movie that every decade could be redone with a different plot. Because kind of to your point about us not getting to talk as much, like our lives are changing constantly the older we get. I'm starting to
Mhm.
understand why our parents didn't have friends, or only had like two friends. So it's like your life keeps moving and time doesn't stop. And it's like if you're not intentional about like creating space for friendship, I think it falls to the wayside. So I
Mhm.
would like to see a girls trip. And I think they were like what, mid 30s, early 40s in that movie.
They were definitely in their 40s.
Oh, then I would like to see them in their 50s. And then I would like to see them again in their 60s. And then I would like to see them every decade until they die. And I would like to see what a girl's trip looks like at 50. Like, I just feel like the older I get, the more I want to see like the insecures and the people that are figuring it out and are flawed and still having a good time through it all.
Yeah, I agree with the Girls Trip sequel. I'm totally down for that. I originally was thinking BAPS, I would want to see a sequel for, but then, of course, the other lead actress, she's passed away. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what would that actually look like? And I think you could do a sequel with like their kids or something like that. But we all know that some it don't really hit the same when you do
Mm-mm.
that, like the Boomerang TV series or
Mm-hmm.
Coming to America 2, which was a hot ass mess.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You know, I had actually thought white chicks, but I think I had put it in the research. Marlon Wayans was talking about it, and they were like, "Are we going to get a white chick sequel?" And he was basically like, "Nah, I don't want to sit in the makeup for that long."
well, that's the thing because I've seen some articles where yes, he was like, no, never happened, and then there's
Yeah,
other ones that's like, yes, it will happen.
well, that would be interesting because he was basically like, "I'm not doing it." Plus, I don't know how we're going to talk about the Wayans brothers because they're on our list of buddy comedies today. But I just don't know, and that's one of my questions, how the Wayans brothers parody humor would work in today's society. Only because White Chicks came out in 2004. We were still politically incorrect at that time. The world we live in today, I don't know. I don't know. And we'll talk about what that looks like, but I just don't know if that can exist today.
Yeah, I think it can exist, and I think it would be actually perfect if their sons did it. Well, I know Marlon Wayne's son doesn't act, but the other Damon Wayne's
Mm,
son, and there's another one that acts. I actually
there's
would
so
like to
many
see it
of them.
with them.
There are so many of the Wayans brothers. I don't even know. I didn't even know. I don't know what their sons look like. I just know that's a big ass family, and they all ate. Love that for them.
Okay, so let's get into our first dynamic duo, which is b.a.p.s, which is the 1997 movie starring Halle Berry and Natalie. I don't know how to say her middle name. Desalee Reed, Natalie Reed. Um,
Desolé. That sounds like something we would do.
Desalee, that's cute. I don't mind that. Um, so yeah, b.a.p.s is a classic. I think it's obviously one of the I wouldn't say one of the one films, but I feel like this us seeing Halle Berry in this performance is not how we
Mm,
normally see Halle Berry.
no.
So yeah,
So I like Babs. I'll say like I rewatched it last night.
same.
And I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if it was just I was high, but I got like really emotional at them winning in the end. And I was like, yo, not only was this movie actually like I genuinely laughed a couple of times. I was like, so it still holds up comedically. But I was like, this was actually a good movie. And I was wondering kind of like this, and I think I put it there too, like this discrepancy between like maybe us as viewers and like the critics of the movie and shit like
Hmm.
that. Now, B.A.P.S came out in 97, and I can understand that in 97, we had like the whole Hood Classics bump coming around or like movement coming around where everybody was talking like, there was Juice, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, all these different black films that were portraying something else. It was something new, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think b.a.p.s is one of the few female hood classics.
Yes, I would agree. I think that what's interesting though is that even though it has like this kind of like black camp aesthetic, it's not like a ratchet movie.
At
And
all.
it's not. And it plays into, and this is one of my questions, like it plays into like all the stereotypes of black women, like they're loud, they're kind of ghetto, like the hair,
Not kinda,
the
they are ghetto.
yeah, the nails.
They're
Didn't
ghetto
Halle
fabulous.
Berry? They are, and Halle Berry had like fucking caps on or some shit. So it's like there was all of this going on in the film, but I think my question is like, why was it so iconic amongst black women? Like, why do we hold this movie in such high regard? There's very few black women I talk to, and you know me, it took me a while to even get into my blackness. So like this was a film I actually saw growing up too, and I've always liked that. So why do you think it's something that we hold so like as this iconic movie, especially amongst black women in black culture, despite it kind of playing into like the caricature?
Yeah, I think it's like a layered thing. Like one, the name of it has like a positive meaning, like Black African princesses. Like
Mm-hmm.
when are Black women ever considered princesses in society? You know what I'm saying? So I think that in itself
Mm-hmm.
brings like a sort of like positive mood to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then also it's the fact that even though they presented us as like ghetto and loud and all these things, uncultured in a certain sense, there was still a balance. Like these were still black women that were ambitious, that had dreams, that
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do better for themselves. Like,
Mm.
even just the fact that she picked up an etiquette book while they were on their way to Beverly Hills. Like, come on.
That was so
Like,
classy. That was so classy of her.
and then by the time at the end, you saw the evolution of their
Yep.
style because at the end of the day, it was always in them. They just weren't in
Mm-hmm.
the right surrounding to like
Mm-hmm.
exude what was truly inside of them. And I think that's the thing they were saying this whole time. Like, she was like, I have dreams, I have aspirations. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I deserve better. She was saying this the whole movie. So I think that's why Black women relate to it so much.
I think that's a really good point, especially on the tail end of like our fully fleshed out like best friend conversation.
Hmm.
Like these women were so well rounded. Like even though they had like the aesthetic of like ghetto-ness or whatever, like you said, like they had ambition. And Holly Berry's character Niecy kept saying that the whole time. Even them like forcing their men to become better and actually start a
Hmm.
cab company and like get their shit together, cut their hair because they was walking around looking like pimps, broke ass pimps. So it's like and then they had morals, you know, there was so much going on. It's like, did they need the money? Yeah, but like at a certain point, it's like they got this white old man who they don't really owe anything to, that they're kind of like, this is wrong and we need to do the right thing in the face of $50,000, $10,000, whatever. They were just like, as people who needed it the most, they had morals, they were principled. And one of the things I particularly liked was that they were protected. And they were
Hmm.
protected by multiple people. Now, were there like, you know, what was this, the Rico Suave guy, the little Spanish guy that was faking the funk with everybody? Like, of course there was bad guys in the movie, but like their men even like protected them despite them being mad at them, despite them being like hood. I think there was so much representation in b.a.p.s and relatability in b.a.p.s that is almost like any black woman could see herself in the characters. And that means any black woman. I don't care if you're a Michelle Obama, I don't care if you're Sexy Red, I don't care who you are, anything in between. Like there is a version of you that exists in Niecy or Mickey. And I appreciated that.
Never thought I would hear Michelle Obama and Sexy Red in the same sentence,
You
but
know, but I always use them as like parallels because it's like I think some people on a spectrum of black women think that those closer to the Michelle Obama end are the ones worthy of protection, and those closer
mhm.
to the Sexy Red end are not. So when you think about people like Niecy and Mickey, typically you don't see them as being protected. You see them as being the butt of the joke. You see them
Yeah,
as this, like I said, caricature. But I don't know if it helped that it was written and directed by black people.
it
That
definitely helped. Like, come on, let's be real. Like, first of all, we know for certain it helped because all the white critics gave this film like zero. Like, I think
oh,
Robert Ebert gave him like
yep,
0 stars or whatever. And
yep,
it's like it shows to prove that like these white critics really hold no weight when it comes to black stories because they don't understand the culture.
they
They don't
don't.
understand any of the like lingo. They don't understand the jokes. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to critique something that you don't understand anything about? And something I found interesting in that article you sent was that Robert Ebert noted that there's a thin line between satire and offensiveness, and this crosses it. And I just thought that was so funny that a white person could say something's offensive, like black culture is offensive to a black person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just, like
So
that.
so that's interesting, right? Because then we get into kind of this idea of why b.a.p.s is so funny. It's because it's written for and by black people. It's not for the white gays. Like if you're a
Hmm.
white person with no affiliation to black culture whatsoever and you come in trying to watch this movie, you might not laugh. This is not generalizable humor.
It's the
Um,
same thing with the movie The Blackening. Like,
yeah,
that movie was so black
that movie was so
specific.
fucking black.
Like,
Yo, that movie was so black. I
and
don't
I
know
loved
how
it. And white people did not get it.
they did
And
not.
I love being in a place like that where black people can literally tell their stories because we don't ever say anything about Spanish people that have their stories and they're speaking their other languages and we don't get the jokes, but we're not like, oh, this is offensive to
Mm,
Spanish people. Like, I don't think they should be doing this.
because who are we to speak on not just others' behalfs, but who are you as a white man to speak on the behalf of black women? And I'm gonna give them I'm gonna give the listeners the stats just so y'all know. So it has a 4.8 on IMDb, like overall, which is really kind of low. It has a 15% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, but that's in contrast to a 67% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Hmm.
Hello. clearly there's a disconnect in what the humor was here, or what people find, what the critics found funny, because we know who the critics are, and
Yeah.
what the audience found funny. Because I thought the shit was funny. And I think it's so revered by Black women because it's kind of a fairy tale. Like, it's
Mhm.
a Cinderella story. And how often, especially in the 90s, besides, obviously Brandy and Whitney Houston and Cinderella, scratch that.
Exactly. That's the first thing you think about with Black Cinderella.
Well, besides the actual Black Cinderella, how often are we getting like these fairy tale stories, these rags to riches stories or whatever, where we get built up in that way? And even when we're seeing them like struggle with like the bidet and like the food is nasty and stuff like that, it's stuff that we find relatable. Because I didn't use a bidet for the first time until like 2 years ago when I went to Italy. It's my favorite
Yo,
thing
that
now.
scene was hilarious to me.
It
And I was like, this has to be improv. Like, there's no
has
way they
to.
could have staged that scene like that.
It has to. And even like us, like the inside joke of like them going to the club and they're broke, because I've had a couple of nights like that. Like, how often have we all went out with no money in our pockets, just hoping, yo,
That someone will buy you a drink
somebody
and
better buy
that you
me a
make sure
drink
you're there before 11 so you can get in there for free.
because it's free and it's ladies' night. So it's like something like that. That setup in and of itself was hilarious to me because I was like, oof, shit, I did that about 2 weeks ago. It never stops. So yeah, I like b.a.p.s. I like the fact that and somebody had drew this really good parallel between Niecy and Mickey as being trashy, and Julia Roberts, a whole prostitute and Pretty Woman, being charming. And it's like she sucked his dick the first night. Okay, she got down and she sucked his dick that first night,
These women
and
did not have sex at all in this movie.
not even a lick of sex. There was
She was telling Enrique no, whatever his
yeah,
name was. She
and
was
all he was
like
doing
no.
was kissing all up on her toes, treating her like an absolute queen, even though he was, he was trifling. But it's like when you see stuff like that, and it's like Julia Roberts was playing a whole prostitute, bro. But something about that is like, oh, Julia Roberts is America's, beauty, American beauty, blah blah blah. Her America's sweetheart. But these two are somehow trashy. And Robert, what's his name, Egbert?
Robert Herbert. You're making me say it wrong.
Egbert.
Robert Ebert, yeah.
Bert and Ernie decided to just go
And
in
the
and give
crazy thing
them.
is, I'm pretty sure he's married to a black woman.
I actually think that might be true. We might have to double check that, but I think you're right about that. But maybe that's why he felt like it was offensive, because he was projecting his own understanding of blackness and what we go through and inserting himself into a conversation. But he is a critic. I get he was doing his job, but I don't think this is like when fucking Joe Biden said that if you don't vote Democrat or whatever, you ain't black. I was like, hey, Joe, hey, hey, you can't say that. You don't tell us what blackness is. So I don't know. I think we can move on from Babs, but I really did like that movie on a rewatch, especially at this age. And I even teared up a little bit because I was like, damn it, black women need a win. And this was such a win for them. This was such a come up. I was so happy for them when they was hugging in the end. And Halle Berry was acting her ass off. And I'm like, Halle, this isn't even a serious movie and you're giving us Oscar worthy performances. That bitch can't turn it
She
off.
she became a whole nother person. Like both of them, like even their like southern accent,
Yep.
like I was just like, oh, this Mickey's accent was perfect in this film. I
Yep.
was just like, oh, they were perfect for this role. I don't think any other actresses could have played these two characters like they
Oh my
did.
God.
And the
No.
last thing I'll say before we do move on is I found it interesting that Troy Bayer, the writer of this film, a black woman, she actually also wrote Love Doesn't Cost a Thing. But she said that she actually didn't even like the film. Like when she saw it, she felt that Robert Townsend, who was the director, made
Mm.
a lot of changes like to her script. And when it came out, she was actually embarrassed. And she
Damn.
felt that what the critics were saying was valid because it was getting such bad reviews. She thought that the movie was like a total flop. And she basically was like, I'm just going to take the money that I made from this film and I'm going to write and direct my own project. And that's what she did. And unfortunately, none of her movies have really gotten great reviews. But I think just like Love Doesn't Cost a Thing is like kind of like a cult classic for black people,
Mm.
she's writing for black people. And a lot of times our films are not valued in the same way as white films are. They're not seen the same way. So what can be a classic for us is definitely not a classic for like pop culture and
Mm.
white culture. So
And I'm okay with that. Like the more, you know, I explore like black film and television, the more I'm okay with not everybody getting the joke. And I'm the more I'm okay with not feeling like the joke, even though other people want me to feel that way.
Hmm.
So I think BAPS is one of those situations where people want to impose their view of a joke on you, and now you're like, damn, maybe I am a joke. Maybe um this is stupid, and maybe this is reflecting black women in a bad light. But I know plenty of black women, even in our friend groups, that have watched BAPS and didn't like internalize and start fucking behaving a certain way or moving a certain way just because of that. If anything, we all laughed and had a great time, and it's definitely like a feel good movie, and I like those two as a buddy comedy duo.
Yeah, love them. Love them. Okay, moving on to our next film, which is Rush Hour,
Oh yeah.
starring Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. Everybody knows Rush Hour.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, thoughts.
So
Thoughts about Rush Hour.
So okay, you because you know I be doing deep dives when I'm researching. So one of the most interesting things I found when I was digging into Rush Hour, and we're going to talk about like why this movie worked, because in my mind I was like, how did people know? Like, how did the director and the writers know that this movie was going to work? Bringing
Hmm.
Jackie Chan in. Now, mind you, this is Jackie Chan's first, I think, film in America that wasn't dubbed. So there was no voice. This is the first time there's no voiceover. And he actually said that when he came, he was a little nervous about actually like speaking English on
Hmm.
film with no dubbing, but it like helped with it worked with the characters. And what's funny is he said when he met Chris Tucker was talking so fucking fast and
Yes.
so much, he was like, I didn't understand any of the words coming out of his mouth, and they actually used it in the movie. So there was this whole like interesting like dynamic going on actually when this movie came out. So Rush Hour came out in 98. Apparently, through the 80s and 90s, there was this like black Asian conflict, mostly with Korean. I want to acknowledge that Jackie Chan is Chinese, so I get that. But mostly with Korean shop owners and black neighborhoods and stuff like that. And this all escalated with the LA riots in like 92. And there was what was her name? Latasha Harlins. One of the shop owners actually ended up killing a girl that came into their shop after they thought she was stealing. It escalated into a scuffle, and then she shot her. So all this was going on like 92 throughout the 90s. So I thought it was actually kind of a risk when you think about how much was going on, how big that conflict was at the time. I thought it was a risk for them to put a black and Asian, you know, actor on screen in a buddy comedy that leans into stereotypes of one another. And this
Hmm.
was only a few years after all this was going on. So I thought that was a big risk. And that's where kind of my question came about like how they knew this would work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think all of that's really interesting. And I think I mean, it puts everything into perspective because at the end of
Right.
the day, those relations still happen to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we saw a lot of it when COVID happened. There was a lot more
Mm-hmm.
Asian hate and stuff like that. So I think it is like very interesting and it would be amazing to like actually talk to them and ask like
Mm-hmm.
what was the conversation like when the
Right.
director or the writer came to you with this idea because I was watching one video clip of Jackie Chan talking about when he made the film, and after he saw it, he was like, he hated it. He did not like Rush Hour
Yeah.
because he didn't understand
Yep.
American culture and he didn't get the jokes and he just
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand why it worked. And so he said when he finally moved here for a few years, he started
Mm-hmm.
understanding American culture a little bit better, but he's like, I still don't understand or like the film. So
Which is fair, but he did three of them. It was three rush hours, right?
yeah, there's three of them.
Okay. So,
I mean, how
but
can you not come back to work with Chris Tucker? I mean, it's like,
did you see the video of Chris Tucker popping up on Jackie Chan at TIFF in 2012? And basically, Jackie Chan sitting there, and he kind of has this like bored look on his face. He's kind of slumped down in his chair. Boy, when they announced that Chris Tucker was surprising him on the stage, the way that man hopped up and was
he was
hugging
so
him.
happy, like a big kid. It was so cute.
So I think that's one of the things that works, right? Is somehow the chemistry between and Chris Tucker, his friendships. Let's just say, like being best friends with like Michael Jackson and Jackie Chan is crazy.
Iconic. And I think he was like really good friends with Prince too.
The
Yeah,
fuck was
I
this
don't know
guy
where Chris
doing?
Tucker creates these relationships, but
But he comes across as like a very genuine down to earth guy. And when you see like even the bloopers and like the behind the scenes, you actually see a friendship blossom between Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, not just Carter and Lee, but like the actual actors. And I think that's why this film works too, is somewhere along the way, the two have a genuine buddy dynamic that actually comes across on screen. Now, Chris Tucker was actually improvising some of the things on screen and shit like
For
that. So I can
sure.
see
Yeah.
why Jackie Chan might have felt lost in the sauce, especially when you're talking about the I would say it's like a contrast between like the seriousness of the Asian culture reflected in the film and the nonsense of like Black culture that was shown in the film. But they lean into these weird little pockets of like, you can't judge a book by its cover. Because somebody had
Hmm.
pointed out Don Cheadle, even when he like met Jackie Chan, he knew like, you know, karate and shit, and he was like a black ninja or something. And Jackie Chan was like, "How do you know this?" And he like trained with an actual like Shaolin master or something like that. So they have these random pockets where it's like, yes, black people are this, but they're also this. And just like with Jackie Chan and him like in the Beach Boys, was the Beastie Boys or the Beach Boys? Like, whoa.
Yes, Beach Boys.
So there was these like crossovers where you got to like humanize, and I think that's also one of the reasons why maybe it's just the writing. Like they knew it would work because they wrote it well. So you see these like moments and pockets where you're able to pull more than just like race and stereotypes as well from the film. So I'm a big fan of Rush Hour.
Hands down. I'm actually gonna watch the other two sometime this week. I was about to watch all three of them, but I was like, I have to watch the other films for
No.
this episode. Like, let me not
Yeah.
get carried away. So, getting into our next movie, which is one me and you's like all-time
Wait,
favorite, I think. Oh, sorry.
I did have a quick question. Do you I was trying to think of whether or not Rush Hour would have worked with other actors, and I did come up with a duo, but you tell me if you think this would have worked. I don't think it would have. I came up with Wesley Snipes and Jet Li.
Hell no. The
It would have
whole
been
mood,
good
I think
though.
it would have worked as a film, but the whole mood would have been different. I feel like it would have had to have been a more serious
Yeah, it
film.
would have been so serious. I don't think
But
Jet
you know
Li
who I
and
think could have pulled off Chris Tucker's role? Martin
who
Lawrence.
Martin 100%. I'm trying to think of it of somebody besides Jackie Chan that could have Jackie Chan.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know the Asian martial arts actors
Ugh,
to that extent. All I know is Jackie and Jet Li. And especially at that time, it's not like
right,
today where there's like a few pockets of them.
right.
It was literally like Jackie and Jet Li.
And all of like the martial artists were pretty serious, and I don't have a big understanding. We'll move on in a second, but I don't have a great understanding of like karate movies. I used to watch them with my uncle Ron. He loved them, and he was always like whacking us in the throat and shit, doing karate with us. So what I found interesting though was that, you know, Rotten Tomatoes was actually created like right before this movie came out. There was a guy, the guy who created Rotten Tomatoes wanted to put together, he's a big Jackie Chan fan. He wanted to put together a list of and rank all of Jackie Chan's Hong Kong movies that had aired, like premiered in the US, and see how
Mm.
people felt about them. So he wanted to get it up and running before Rush Hour came out. And that is how Rotten Tomatoes came. It's because of Jackie Chan fan.
I love that. That's a great fact that I did
I
not
love
know
that.
about.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the funnest things I read when I was researching Rush Hour. But yeah, we can move on. I just thought like there was so many like cute little Easter eggs when you take a deep dive into Rush Hour.
Yeah, touche to your deep dive. That was good. Okay, so our next film is Life. I feel like we both love this movie,
We
and
do. We do.
but you all,
Mia always says, "Hey, let's watch Life." She's done this to me multiple times. She'll be like, "Hey, do you want to watch Life?" And of course, because we love that movie, I'm like, "What the fuck? Of course I want to watch Life." And then every time we sit down to do it, something happens that we can't watch Life. But then a few weeks or days later, she's like, "Oh, I watched Life." I'm like, oh, you
no,
treacherous,
okay, the first
treacherous."
time was because I assumed Life was gonna be on one of these platforms for free, and we had to like rent it or something, and so we didn't watch it. And then yes, you're right. Every time
Yeah,
I'm
and
always
then
like, let's
somehow
watch
you
Life.
and then something happens and we don't get to watch Life together, but we did get to watch it recently together. So I appreciate you finally, because when you said it, I was like, are we really going to watch Life? Is that really going to happen this time?
Oh,
So yeah.
hilarious. Sorry.
So actually, because we started there, like you and I, we love Life with Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence. We love the movie. Why do you think we treat, and I couldn't even come up with a good enough answer, so we can work this out right now. Why do you think you and I treat life like a feel good movie?
I think it's because of the comedians like Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. We don't see them often. I think this is their only movie together, right?
I think so, actually.
Yeah, so I feel like just that comedic genius alongside all the other people that are in the movie,
Right.
like Bernie Mac and oh my God, Anthony Anderson and all
Mm-hmm.
these other comedians. Um,
Very young too, because this was
yeah,
'99.
exactly. So it's just like I think there's that aspect of it. Um,
Aren't these all like kings of comedy too?
yeah, everybody except Steve Harvey, or no, Steve Harvey and D.L. Hughley aren't in it. So,
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
or and Cedric the Entertainer. So no, it's not the Kings of Comedy.
Oh, fair enough. Whatever. But the other ones were kings of comedy, right? Bernie
Bernie
Mac
Mac,
was.
yeah.
Oh, Anthony Anderson wasn't. Shit, I don't even
No,
know what I'm
no,
talking
no.
about. Ah!
I don't think he had the hype yet.
Okay, fair. So I was trying to answer this, and I was like, you're right. There are like these household names. I was thinking about like something about life feels like it's not like these characters are not their situation. And there's something about that like resilience in the movie that feels good. Like they do what black people have always done in the face of adversity or, obstacles and shit like that. Like we're watching them in jail for life for a crime they did not commit, but somehow it's a one long joke. Like, how the fuck do you turn a life sentence for like how do you turn an injustice into a joke? And only black people can do that.
Facts.
Now, what I will say, I don't think life was written directed by black people, right?
Oh, good question. I never actually looked it up.
I feel like regardless, because I don't know the answer to that, and we should probably we probably should, but whatever, we're human. So in my mind, I'm thinking like even despite that, the amount of blackness in this movie was going to make it a black movie regardless. Because when you have Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence, there's no way they're not improvising some shit. You have Bernie Mac on the screen. There's no way there's not some improv going on. Anthony Anderson, there's no way there's not some improv going on. So, despite what was written or what the direction was, I feel like Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence really brought their own authentic like expression to the characters, and that's why it came. That's why it became what it did. Because I was thinking like life feels like it had some mainstream success.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm so sorry, but I felt some type of way because I'm trying to look up the movie Life, and this other 2017 sci-fi movie keeps popping up, and I'm
I
like, how
know. I
dare
seen
they?
that. I seen that. I had to keep putting life 1999. If you are looking for life, you have to put 1999 because there's some other sci-fi movie that apparently is bigger than life. And we're going to talk about that because life, even though it got some mainstream success, especially amongst black people, I don't feel like it was. I feel like it's kind of an underrated movie still. For Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy to be the leads in this, it's still. I think even when you think about Eddie Murphy's like filmography, I don't know if life comes up immediately for people. You got Beverly Hills Cop. You got all these different movies that Eddie Murphy's in. Even his stand up. I don't know the name of it, but the one where he's in the red outfit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So it's like he people bring up all these other things. They might even bring up fucking Dr. Doolittle before they
yeah.
bring up life. And I like Dr. Doolittle. Don't get me wrong. I fuck with Dr. Doolittle because I fucked with Kyla Pratt. But when you think about the legacy that is like Martin Lawrence, you think about Bad Boys, even Blue Streak, which I feel like is a deep cut in and of itself. Black Knight. Do y'all
Yeah.
remember Black Knight? So it's like all these other movies seem to come up, but when you think about life, I wonder if it's because it's not really something that you can define. Because is it just a comedy?
I would consider it a comedy, but I guess right here it says it's a comedy thriller.
Ew, thriller. I
I
feel like
don't
they
understand how it's a
miscategorized
thriller, but
that.
I guess because there's the murder aspect, then maybe it's a thriller.
You can murder and be funny.
But I think you're right because if you look at the cast, like outside of the people I named, there's Bokeem Woodbine, who is a well-known actor at this point. Maybe not back then, but yes, now.
Now, because they used to call him Diet Dave Chappelle back in the day.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm like,
know.
it's not his name. That's not his name.
And people probably still do because they don't know his name. But he is a well-established actor.
Mm-hmm.
And then freaking Rick James was in this, which I didn't even realize till you
We
told me.
didn't. We didn't. Until my friend had told me that Rick James was the guy He was the guy that the gambler, the one that was cheating. I had
Yep.
no idea. They really cleaned Rick James up for that shit.
So to answer your question, no, this was not directed by a black person. It was directed by a white man. The story idea was by Eddie Murphy, which makes a lot of sense, but he
That
did
does make
not
sense.
write it. Two other white men wrote it. So,
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
but
I think because it had Eddie Murphy's influence, and at that
mm-hmm.
time, like Eddie had the power to create whatever films he wanted,
Shit.
honestly.
After
So I
coming to
think,
America.
yeah, I think because his influence is on it is the reason why we got the movie that we got.
Yeah, I just wish that life wasn't because to me, I just wish it wasn't so far down on their filmography because to me, it's actually one of my favorite Eddie Murphy or Martin Lawrence movies.
Same.
Um, and you and what ends up happening is that you get this movie which is hilarious, but it's not dismissive of the very real situation they're in. Right? We got the gun line. Like you don't go past the gun line, boss.
We got the
And
white only pies.
yo, who was the who played the one that the whites only pies? Man, fuck them white only pies. And we see him like at the window. We see the interracial relationship we can't get right, and the daughter of the was it the warden?
Oh yeah, no, no, it wasn't the warden's daughter. It was like the governor's daughter
Oh, well, he was
that can't get
fucking
right had a kid with.
and I'm that baby's Paul. Like there's these iconic moments in it that are hilarious despite the situation because that's a very real situation that can get you killed. But when they all
Hmm.
stepped up and were like, "I'm that baby's Paul," it's like that shit was funny. Like you're laughing in the face of danger in multiple situations. When Martin Lawrence goes and gets the whites only pie that's in the window and he has to stick his feet in the fucking cola bottles as a punishment, like that's a funny moment in the face of danger. So again, I think life is still like this great movie and this great buddy comedy because despite the situation, like we're making the jokes, we're having fun. They even had that cookout and that kind of like, which ends sadly though. I cannot remember the actor's name who played
It's Miguel Nunez
you
Jr.
know who I'm talking about,
that
right? That
played
crossed
Biscuit. Yeah.
yes, that crossed the gun line and whatever because in again like this deals with some really serious shit. It doesn't dismiss the situation they're in because he didn't know that after serving so much time in prison what he was going to go back to or whether or not it was worth it. So
I
you
mean,
get
specifically as a gay black man, like we
hell
can't
yeah.
forget that aspect of it, which
Yep.
that I don't think a lot of films in that time would have like represented a gay
Mm-hmm.
black man. Like we know that they exist in prison, but we're not really seeing them on screen. And even that, they didn't like create him as like a outcast where
Yep.
like no one like liked him or talked to him or anything like that. Like he
Mm-hmm.
was still a part of the like the crew. So
Yeah, there was so much representation in here actually when you think about it. And even like I was trying to think about like what makes life besides like the comedic aspect, why it's so much different than movies like Shawshank, 12 Years a Slave, where it's like you got black people in bad situations. It's the joke, sure, but it's like this insistence on showing them live. And I think that's when we get to the title, right? That it really is just life and they're living life and they're living it the best they can in these circumstances. And again, that's just so relatable for black people because we will make a fucking joke out of anything.
we will.
Anything.
But I do think the fact that we got to see them escape at the end, like
Oh,
even though they spent literally their whole lives
their
in
whole life.
prison, the fact that they got that one moment of freedom at the end where they just got to go to a baseball game,
Mm-hmm.
it almost made it feel like the whole movie was worth it.
It did. It did. And maybe that's why it feels good to us is because maybe we're just some happy ending ass bitches. Like maybe we just really love a good happy ending, especially when you're seeing again, whether it's BAPS and it's two women in these situations where they're trying to come out of poverty, they're trying to get their lives together, they're trying to open businesses, or whether you see two black men that have gotten life in prison for some shit they didn't do. It's those little moments in the end where this is a tangent, but that's why I didn't like them as a TV show. Nothing about that TV show feels worth it in the end. It is a
Mm.
lot of black trauma and angst, and in the end, I don't even get the satisfaction of a happy ending. So there's something about that that I did not enjoy. With these movies, again, we're talking about two different genres, but like I just like seeing black people win in the end. And if they're going through adversity, like make it worth it. And I think that's kind of like goes back to our thought of the week. It's like we just got to make this shit worth it in the end. That's all. Whatever we're doing or whatever we decide, it just has to be worth it.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our next one, which we talked about a little earlier, which is White Chicks with Marlon and Shawn Wayans. Came out in 2004. Many of us have seen it. I
Hmm.
actually hadn't seen this in a really long time, and I rewatched it, and I was like, "This is hilarious still to this day."
Yo.
Like this has it. Like even though we were talking about how they obviously talk about white people in this film, but to me, it's
Mhm.
still aged aged
It aged
well.
well, but you know why? And this is what I wanted to say in the beginning, but I didn't want to jump ahead. It was like on the rewatch, because I rewatched it too. Shit was hilarious. The rewatch, it was because everybody could get it. It was like everybody was the butt of a joke at some point in the movie. It was women, it was men, it was gay people, it was the white people, it was the Hispanic people. Everybody was the butt of a joke. Terry Crews, like everyone could get it. And I think when you think about the Waynes and what they do, something like White Chicks, maybe it could exist today because as long as everybody's getting it, is it technically offensive? Or is it just so offensive that nobody knows who should be offended? Like, I don't know.
But I think also the fact that their work is always kind of like satire parody
It
is like
is.
that's where it's like it's not offensive because we know it's so like ridiculous what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing. Like even if there is some truth to it, it's like they're just playing around. Like
Yes. And
yeah.
there's definitely some truth to it when you think about somebody like Terry Crews' character. That man was so fucking funny in that movie. That man was a predator. But even when you think about something like Don't Be a Menace to South Central, they had the one white guy who was basically like calling the white women like his Nubian queens and shit like that. Like there's always this like, I don't know, it's the Wayans brothers are so tapped into black culture that they find these like niche little jokes to put in. And it's like if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, you don't. And I just thought White Chicks had a good number of that, even the Yo Mama jokes. That shit was hilarious. Where did he get that powder from? When he blew that shit out of his fucking hand.
It was perfect timing.
Yo, and even to me, like the Wayans were doing something interesting at a time where, and maybe because it's parody, but there was something about like Sean Wayne's taking on even like in Scary Movie, him taking on like this kind of like gay role and like nobody kind of questioning his sexuality for doing something like that.
What do
And
you
this,
mean? Everybody's questioning his sexuality.
oh, did we question Sean Wayne's
I mean, a
sexuality?
lot of people question his sexuality because of those films.
Oh, I shit. I maybe it was just me then. I was just, bro. I was all an ally before I knew it because I was like, wow, what a healthy sense of masculinity to be able to fucking fuck Brenda with a whole fucking football get up on. So maybe it was just me. I just thought it was interesting that they were willing to challenge norms in that way. So you even see it where they kind of go in and out of like masculinity, even as when they are dressed as like Tiffany and Brittany. Like there was some moments when they first got there and the guys were checking them out and they're like, "You looking at my ass?" I was like, "Yo, yo, get back in character." But I thought there was like a really good use of like gender bending, gender normative behavior being bent. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting little tidbit in what they were able to come in and out of
You
in a
know what I
parody.
found interesting is that no one ever said anything when these white women's voices got deep as hell. I was like, I
Nothing,
wish there would have been some type of joke around that because to me it was
nothing.
like they didn't play these white women that well. That is
No, and
maybe if anything, if anything, I would have been like, these women are bipolar or something. Like, what is going on? They have split personalities.
yo, even when the strippers came to the room and they like he beat the shit out of them and he was talking in such a deep voice and then was like, oh, it's just little PMS. I'm just, oh my god, I'm so sad. I was like, get
Their
the fuck
abnormal
out
strength.
of here. Get the fuck out of here. Or even fucking I was thinking about when he threw like the football at the one guy on the beach and it like took him out and shit. I was like, God damn, nobody's gonna ask like why is she so fucking strong? Like, come on. Even when he was in the bathing suit, you saw his broad ass shoulders. I'm like, nobody's questioning this body type.
Well, they said
Like,
something in the beginning, like the guy was like, "Oh, you've gotten so tall" or something
oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. But they like they were buff still. Like these are still like grown ass men playing two white women. So there was, and even when they were in the dressing room and she was like, "Suck it in," I'm like, you don't fucking
That was hilarious. Just like stand up straight.
Exactly. And then she's like, "Oh, you got the wrong underwear on," and gave him like a whole wedgie with his drawers. I was like, "You didn't question why she was wearing men's drawers." But I think that's the joke, right? And that gets into like, I think one of my questions was like, and you know more about like In Living Color and stuff like that, but like, what do you think it is that sets like the Wayans brothers apart from other comedic families or like duos that are doing like just movies like this? Maybe it's because
Yeah,
nobody's doing movies like this.
I think it's part of what you said is like they understand the culture. They're so in tune from obviously from literally their older brothers creating In Living Color to
Mm,
Marlon starting to do parodies of these popular white films, Scary Movie,
mm,
and I mean not Scary Movie, but all the, Scream and all these horror
mm,
films to create Scary Movie is like they understand the culture in a way that like a lot of people don't see. And I think it's just
mm.
innately within the family. And I think that's why they're like the powerhouses they are.
You're right. I think because I'm actually a big fan of the Wayans brothers like parody movies. And of course, you know, like the Six Man and you know, shit like that too. Like I
I
love
know
cool.
they're the
Yeah.
one-offs that were like, okay,
Yeah.
this was a bit much, but it's
Yeah. And
here.
Marlon has a new movie coming out. Apparently it's like a thriller, horror, psychological, something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
with Jordan
Him.
Peele.
Yeah.
I actually love Marlon Wayans as a more serious, dramatic
I do
actor.
too.
I think he's probably the most talented one in the family.
I
Like
do
all of them
too.
are talented, obviously, but to me, his evolution as like an actor,
Mm-hmm.
as a writer, as a filmmaker is just like so amazing. And I think when I saw him perform in Bel Air, because he was Will's father that kind of like abandoned him in Bel Air, the TV series.
Oh,
And
I
so
remember that.
yeah, so when he was reunited with Will, that scene alone, I feel like he should have won an Emmy. Like that scene was so powerful. His
He can
acting was so
act.
strong. And I feel like he doesn't get enough credit. So hopefully with this new film, like people will understand like how dynamic of an actor he is.
I agree. Like Marlon was in fucking Requiem for a Dream, and I think that was like this icon. It was more, you know, white culture, I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah.
whatever that culture is. But it was more like white facing. But like him as a serious actor is also good. But they really ran with this like parody genre, almost to the point where that's where you expected them to go every time. Um, and I think, you know, this was kind of my beef with Sinners was I think you miss out on good writing, good acting, and good stories because today it's almost like everybody just wants to be the wokest. Everybody wants. That's why I said I don't know if another a White Chicks 2 would work now because everybody wants think pieces. They want, and in a way, you know, Jordan Peele is one of my fucking favorites. But in a way, I think Get Out has fucked us mentally because now it's like everybody wants to find the Easter eggs. Everybody wants to do think pieces and these highbrow moments, and it's like, bro, just let me laugh.
Oh
And
my
that's
God. But even in Jordan Peele's film Nope, like people
yeah,
were searching so hard for the Easter eggs. And I was like, I feel like I don't think it's that deep.
it's an
Like I think
alien
he just wanted to
movie
create a horror movie,
around an alien.
an alien movie.
Yeah, and it's like he wanted good stories, good actors, good direction, and good writing. That was it. And people want to dig so deep that I worry that if a White Chicks 2 did come out, people would be trying to find the intelligence in comedy. And it's like, bro, you don't have to think so hard about everything all the time. I don't think the Wayans brothers are out here thinking, oh my gosh, how can we insert, you know, a think piece into or a social commentary on the state of Black culture. They're not fucking thinking about that, bro. And I get tired of everything that comes out by a Black person having to be, and I think maybe, you know, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be questioning some shit because you know my beef with Tyler Perry, but I do think that when it comes to comedy, even, you know, Dave Chappelle's and shit like that, like I think when is it okay to laugh at ourselves and like others? And I think the Wayans brothers made it okay for us to laugh at ourselves and not think too much about it.
Yeah. Oh, I just want to make that one correction. Him is
Mm-hmm.
not a Jordan Peele movie.
It's not, but I didn't want to, I
You should have
wasn't
said
sure.
something.
I
You gonna
wasn't
let me
sure.
be
And
a fool out here?
girl, I was just thinking because in my mind, I was like, I've seen people connecting him to Jordan Peele. I just don't know what role Jordan Peele played in the movie. That's why I couldn't correct you.
So he's not involved.
Oh, oh, somebody on social media was like, "This is not a Jordan Peele
Wait,
movie," but
okay,
I can't remember.
hold up. Wiki is saying that it's produced by Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw Productions.
Oh, so his production company.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he was
They
involved in some way.
no, they love tacking Jordan Peele's name onto some shit. They did it with Lovecraft too a little bit, but they love tacking Jordan Peele's name onto some shit whenever it has anything to do with black horror because it's like we know
That's a
y'all gonna
fact.
line
Black
the fuck
horror.
up. Jordan Peele, of course. So I think Jordan Peele has become like a little typecast in some ways, and they know it's kind of like putting J. Cole in the feature. Like you just know the shit's gonna hit. Like you do it, and people it gets the people going. It's provocative to put Jordan Peele in front of a movie
We'll go.
poster. Exactly.
Uh, Okay, let's get into our last film, which is Girls Trip, which is our newest film out of the bunch. Came out in 2017, stars Queen Latifah, Regina Hall, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Tiffany Haddish, which this was her
Mm-hmm.
movie debut. Um, yeah, I mean, Girls Trip to me never goes wrong. Like I could watch it at any time and love the film. I think the fact that we get to see older Black women go
Mm-hmm.
on a girls' trip, enjoy themselves, and deal with their issues and problems without it
Mm-hmm.
being like, even though they had like a big blow up and argument, it's not to the point where it's like we can't come out of this
Mm-hmm.
as friends still. Like I feel like within decade long friendships, you're gonna have some mishaps and some
Yep.
misunderstandings. So I think the fact that we get to see these women be reunited and reconcile their friendship after so many years, I think that in
Mm-hmm.
itself is really beautiful to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as like younger Black women, like we need to see stuff like that. We need to see that female friendships can work. They don't have to be
Mm-hmm.
catty, that people can apologize and that we can move on and forgive each other. So,
Even in the I want to say even in the messiness because to your point, yeah, if you're friends with somebody for fucking 20 plus years, it's going to get messy at some point. We've had our tips and we've had to like work those out and figure out like communication, figure out like okay,
mhm.
what's being said, why is this emotion coming up, and it's not something that ever stops. Like I think the reason I like Girls Trip, one, you know, it reminds me of one of my favorite buddy comedies, which is Bridesmaids, which I really
Yeah.
fucking love. But two, I think it's seeing Black women be messy because they're always so, and even when you have like Regina Hall's character Ryan, she's so polished and all this other stuff, but progressively we watch them break down whatever that demeanor, whatever front they have to the public or whatever front they're even carrying amongst themselves. Because we see Queen Latifah's character who's struggling with money and all this other stuff, and she's trying to keep up a front. And it's weird that that would even be necessary, but it's like that sometimes.
Hmm.
Um, Especially when your other friends are successful. So you see like jealousy, you see competition. And I think when you see Black women characters, it tends to just be like, we're down for each other, we're joyful. Like they're not as flawed
Or
unless you
there's
get
no
like an
middle ground.
insecure.
It's either
Yeah.
like we hate each other, we stab each other in the back,
Yeah.
or we're like
It's
this perfect
Niecy and
friendship.
Nikki.
It's not like, yeah, it's not layered. I get what you're saying.
Yes. So it's like when you see this, there's so much going on. It's like they're down for each other, but they also are harboring some resentment for whatever reason. Because we see Sasha is like, why didn't you start the publishing company with me? And I've been holding on to that. And it's like, God damn, how long you been holding on to that? So I mean, there are situations. It's like it feels realistic. Honestly, it feels like a real friendship. Even though it's like like this whole group dynamic, it feels like real friendship. Even that argument in the end when they had that big blow up, Tiffany Haddish's character is fucking wild. I think that was one of my questions. Is like, obviously, if you're going on a real girls trip, which character of the Flossy Posse are you taking?
I
Um,
would, okay, so
oh, by all means.
young me would, yes, take Tiffany Haddish's character
Mm,
because you're ready to have a good time. But
exactly.
older me would actually take Queen Latifah's character because outside of her working on her blog, she liked to have fun. Like she was down for the shits.
I mean,
But she is poor right now. So you're okay, so there's a
she won't be poor
downside.
forever. She wasn't poor forever. My thing is, damn. Okay, younger me would take Dina, Tiffany Haddish's character. Older me might actually still take Dina.
I think it also depends. It depends on what type of girls trip you're trying to have. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you need the girl trip where you can wild out and we're not going to talk about this afterwards. But sometimes you need a girls trip where you're relaxing and you're
Hmm.
recuperating and you're getting in touch with yourself a little bit. And every other night or so you pop out, but not the whole time. I think Dina would just exhaust me.
So okay, fair. But I think Dina would go off on her own and just fuck whatever and do whatever she got to do, and then like
No,
return
that's
and
true.
be
Like
like,
if I
"You're
needed a
fucking
break,
boring."
Dina would like come back in like 12 hours.
She's self sufficient like a cat. You just leave her to her own devices or some shit, and she might come back with chlamydia, but it is what it is. I guess
That's
that
I was just
that
about to say Dina is you until you said the chlamydia thing.
yeah, I mean, minus the chlamydia thing, I do think her character resonated with me where it's like, I'm just here for a good time, bro. Like, that's it. Now, is it all about grapefruit and dick? And shout out to young Kofi, you know? Shout out to a young
Just the fact
Kofi.
that we got to see the bod and the cheeks, I was like, yes, Kofi, thank
They were
you.
good cheeks.
They were great
Good
cheeks.
cheeks are underrated, by the way. I feel like we don't talk about good male cheeks enough.
You know what? I always loved a man. These are my body parts of men that I look at first. Shoulders, arms, because I
Shoulders
like
for
to be
sure.
held.
I like to
But
feel
then you got
small.
to look at the legs and the ass because then you know if one, they're strong,
Mm-hmm.
but how strong will they be in the bedroom? You know what I'm saying? Like, can they pick me up? Because the squat is important if you're going to be picking me up and we're going to be doing stuff.
But this is why I've always liked basketball player bodies because I feel like they be having their legs are proportionate to their bodies. My beef with football players is I feel like their necks be thick, their upper bodies be super bulky and thick, and it's like,
Yes.
God damn, bro, why are you so brolic? Like, I don't want to date anybody that looks like they could beat my ass. So for me, I will agree. I think it's shoulders. I like some pecs, but I'm not mad at a little softness in the chesticle area. And I like thick thighs and nice booty, like on
Yes.
men. And I don't know when this started because I don't think I ever used to look at ass. But now I'm like, damn, do you even squat, bro?
No,
Like, why I look
I
like that?
love a nice firm butt because that means you work out. I know that you pay attention to your legs, but what I don't want
Mm-hmm.
are hips. I don't want
Oh,
hips.
oh, not. I feel like hips you be built a little bad. I'm not trying to body shame
I
anybody.
always feel so bad for men that have hips because they can't help it, but it just makes them walk a little different.
Girl, you know what I don't want? I don't want a fat man ass. Like, I don't want you to have a badonkadonk. Something about a man with a fat ass is crazy. Sometimes I'll be like, that's too much ass. That's where you
Yo,
can see it from the front. That's where the hips be coming from.
I was watching something the other day and they were talking about how nice of an ass Trevor Noah has.
Oh, does Noah have a nice
Trevor
ass?
got a fatty. I had to
Is
go
it
look.
fat?
Does it waddle?
Look,
Little
girl,
African root to him.
bro. He's probably gonna get mad at me for telling this story. We was in the car one time. So I get my ass from my dad, thankfully. And I know that sounds crazy. I be telling dudes that sometimes, like, thank you, I get it from my dad. How you feel? How you feel?
But most women get their body shape from their dad's side of the family.
My sister's definitely got my mom's ass.
I have my aunts. I'm shaped like my aunties.
I feel like I'm shaped like my mom before kids. And that's like no hips, kind of athletic build, even when I'm not doing shit. Everything's kind of just like slim, but I like to think I'm thick. But like it's kind of slim, but like I'm thick also. So don't argue with me, argue with your mom. So one time I was in the car and my dad with his, rotund ass was walking, and my mom was like, look at your dad. Look at your dad walking. Look at that ass. And then the shit was just going like this. And I was like, yo, don't point out daddy's ass like that. I'm sure he would feel disrespected right now. But that's why I say, like, I think there's something about that playing in my childhood that I'm like, I don't want a fat ass. Like, it just got to be shaped nice. I don't want a fat ass. Like, don't be walking around me and your shit's like fucking switching and moving while you walk. That's crazy. Anyways, my question for you about girls trip, to bring this full circle, is how much do you think Girls Trip got right about actual Girls Trip? Because I see this commentary online where guys are like, "Oh, my girl ain't going on a Girls Trip. What the fuck they think is going to happen? We don't be grapefruiting people."
First of all, I've heard crazy horror stories about girls trips, and I think thankfully my experience and the women that I decided to go on girls trips with, it don't be that extreme. We've had some situations where it's like, okay, I'm never going on a trip like with her again. But it's not to the point where, people are getting left. People gotta hide. hitchhike or it's nothing crazy or people getting robbed, other people robbing people, like nothing like that.
Also, I don't necessarily go on girls' trips thinking like I'm looking for men. I think the closest we can think of is probably like our cruise to Jamaica, where we had linked up with those guys that were also like a foursome. And that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, also it was like we were freaking 20.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think when people think of girls' trips, it's like, y'all just going out there for some dick. And I'm like, where did that narrative come from? Like, what
I
girls
think
are
it's
going out
their
here?
own insecurities because you're absolutely right. I'm not going on a girls' trip to like just find a random guy to have sex with. First of all, we're not doing that to begin
No.
with. So, yeah, my girls' trips, I want to have fun with the girls. Like, I want to go out and dance and
Right.
drink and not really think
Be
about
cute.
anything. Yeah, and I think I love our girls' trips. I love us hanging out in general because I feel
Same.
like we used to have this thing where we were always like, oh, that was a good decision. Oh,
Yep.
that was a good decision. Like it
Yep.
would just be a pile up of good decisions that just made a great night. And it could be something as simple as just getting dressed at a certain time,
Mm-hmm.
getting the right Uber, like picking the right restaurant to eat at. All of these
Picking the
things
right
add up that
party.
we all made great girl decisions at our girls' trip,
Mm-hmm.
and it ended up being a great trip.
Now we've had I don't even know if I would call it wild. Like when we talk about the white party in Greensboro, I feel like that shit was one of the greatest parties I've ever been to this day. To this day, that's one of the greatest parties I've ever been to. So I feel like, and we got those Baja Blasts from fucking Taco Bell, the Mountain Dews, filled
Yeah,
that shit up, got there, lit as hell, but perfectly lit. I think if I had to describe my ideal like girls trip hangout type shit, it would be this night because we was perfectly lit. We still talk about this. I don't know how we balanced getting just lit enough that the room was not spinning, but we was almost there. We was on the precipice of being too drunk, but not drunk enough. And
very
we
true.
went, girl, I went in that party. I remember dancing in a cage. Why the fuck were there cages in that party? I don't even remember what the venue looked like. I just know I was in a cage somewhere. And I was like, yo, this is the greatest night of my life. It's the greatest night of my life. You know, black people love a white party.
That was a very epic party, yes.
It was great. And that was our little, it was a little road trip. So that I'm fine with that. I don't know that we've gotten many opportunities though. I thought our first trip to Philly was a good trip, minus, some
Yeah, besides the riffraff that we didn't
yeah,
invite.
besides some of that extra shit. If anything, what's funny is like the commentary online is that like girls trip, there's some people that think we go out and we want to get fucked and we're sucking dick and shit like that. I think if anything, there's like infighting sometimes. Like it's like you got to be careful about who you take on a girls trip.
Well,
Like you
that's what
can't.
I'm saying. That's why I'm like, the
Yeah.
women that we hang out with, we've never had crazy fights
Nope.
internally where it's like we can't have a good time together, where it's like weird animosity and
Mm-hmm.
energy. And that's where I'm just like, but I think it's also the fact that we don't really go on that many girls' trips with new friends.
No, no new friends. No new friends. No, no new. No, no, no. You can't trust everybody, especially going away.
So, but to say about girls' trip, what was accurate, I think the fact of them just going with the flow, just them after when they ended up at the bar with the crazy wigs on, that was because they needed to like just cool off and they randomly picked a bar to go to. And that sometimes is the best decision. You randomly pick a place to go to and it's like that was amazing. We had a great night. So I think the impromptu-ness of girls' trips was like what I always enjoy about actual trips. Like we can have a few things scheduled, but don't make the whole stiff itinerary. Like I don't want that.
I'm gonna definitely schedule the things that I feel like when I went to Italy, I should have scheduled seeing the Statue of David. I didn't realize how big of a deal that was, but I should have known. So certain shit you do have to like apparently you got to plan to go to the Vatican like 3 months in advance. So if you're going to Italy and you think you're just going to walk into the Vatican, that's not fucking happening. So there's certain shit that does need to be planned in advance. Cool, but there's a lot of like room for like let's go walk down the street and see if there's a fucking bar or something. Let's like just tour like the area and stuff like that. Let's go find something to eat instead of thinking like we got to book a reservation for this restaurant in advance. I think with girls trip there was a lot of like in the beginning they all looked like they had their shit together, and I think watching that mask fall off and seeing that they're messy and drunk and fucking lamps in the club and shit like that and tripping off absinthe, and I've done absinthe before and we did that shit in Korea. we didn't do that much. So I was tweaking a little bit, but not enough. That shit, they made me actually want to kind of like full throttle with the shit and see what happens. but but you see them being like what at that age people would consider irresponsible. And I love that because it's like, God damn, man, I don't always want to have my shit together.
But is that irresponsible? I don't think
No,
they were being irresponsible at all. I think they were having a great time being out.
I think it was a
It
great
almost
time.
reminds me of what Housewives is now. Like, I feel like every time we're on a housewife, like we watch some type of Housewives trip, they're
Mm-hmm.
always getting drunk, they're always going out, and it's just like, oh, is this what older age looks like when we go
I'm
on
happy with
girls trips?
that.
And I'm not mad at it. We're just at classier spots, drinking
Yep.
better liquor, and getting
Mm-hmm.
drunk
Yeah, it's definitely got heavy on the better liquor because
without the fights.
yeah, because us getting that gallon of Smirnoff and just downing that back in the day was, I don't know what the fuck we were
I
thinking.
mean, back then we were all putting our coins together just to get the room, you know what I'm
But a
saying?
gallon, yeah, you're right. And sharing rooms is like, I know, like
Sharing
some,
bed sometimes, like,
yeah,
just to have a good time.
we're just not in that place anymore. Like at
Eating at the
least
Waffle House,
double bed me, at least. Like don't have me in there sharing a king with you or a queen. Like I don't want to do that. If you had to pick a girls trip character that you think you are, who would it be?
Oh, I definitely think I'm Sasha's character just because it aligns with the whole media aspect. And I think I would also be a person that would like hold on to something for a while. I have
Mm-hmm.
done that in the past, without saying something. So I think probably her character.
I would
Um,
have said Sasha.
yeah,
Yeah. Um,
you're
I,
obviously Dina. I think
I was
Sasha
trying to
or
wiggle out of
Regina's
it.
character would have been me, like Ryan. I could probably
I
also see
agree.
myself as. I would not have stayed around for all the cheating and stuff, though. I don't know what kind of spell he had on her. Was it just the dick, or was it like,
No, it was okay. Maybe it was Dick, but it was also like we've built something and we have to see it through in order to like land these deals. I think some of it was just a business decision. Like even he was like, without me, you don't have it all. And something
yeah,
like
I think it
that
was the
about,
fantasy.
yeah, and she was trying to sell people on this idea that she had it all. She was so well put together and there was no issues in her marriage. There was no issues in her life. You can work the way you work and have a husband and a happy marriage and stuff like that. You can have it all, but technically she didn't have it all. That was just the image she was selling. So I think with staying with the cheating and stuff, also relatable because we've had friends that have done that where you've given a guy too many chances and it's like, yo, what the fuck was I thinking? Um, Especially in the face of the bullshit he was doing. Not only was he fucking that Instagram model, but he got her pregnant. So it's like, now you pregnant by him? That's crazy. So I think that she just wanted to hold on to the image that she had cultivated. And there's something that happens when who you think you are no longer aligns with who you actually are or what the life you actually have. And
Ooh, that's a real
yeah,
slap in the face. I've been there.
girl, same. Girl, same. Sometimes I check my bank account and be like, bitch, I know who we thought we were, but who are we actually? let's let's
Okay, so before we end the episode, let's talk about some of our honorable mentions. Because actually, when you put this list together, I was actually
mm,
surprised that it was more of a black curated buddies list. I was like,
I
oh, she
know.
didn't add any of her white buddy comedies.
I did my best. I did my best. I did
So
my
I mean,
best.
we might have to do an episode of just the white buddy comedies, but I think the honorable mentions that we can list of like the black buddy comedies are How High with Method Man and Redman.
Mm-hmm.
Good Burger. I think that's like, I don't know. It's not the original, but it's just such a nostalgic like kid
Mm-hmm.
one for us with Keenan and
It
Kel.
is.
Like
And Kenan
it,
and Kel as a dynamic have always been like a quintessential like black buddies.
yeah.
Oh my
It's
God.
unfortunate that it didn't age well at all,
It's
but
it no. No. No, that movie's actually terrible.
it's so
But
bad.
I love it for my childhood me. That movie is bad. I would not recommend now. But I'm happy to see Keenan flourishing and going on and Kel. They're like doing such great things. But Good Burger was not one of them.
Yeah.
But shout out to them because Keenan and Kel as a show was great, and they were like I said, like the buddy dynamic going on.
Yeah. Of course, everybody's number one go-to buddy comedy Friday with
Yeah.
Ice Cube and Chris Tucker.
Shout out to Chris Tucker for being in two staple buddy comedies, black
Yeah.
buddy comedies, kind of.
You could discuss these next ones because I actually
Oh, I put down Keanu because I thought that movie was fucking hilarious. I think Key and Peele are hilarious dynamic. If you never like watched their show, I think they are also a good dynamic duo when it comes to like buddies. But I thought Keanu was great. Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. I know it's not technically black, but it is colored. Okay, because Harold and Kumar are both Asians. Um, and I thought that fucking movie was hilarious. I still think it is. I think it's. I don't want to call it black adjacent, but there is something to be said about their influence on like stoner culture. I feel
Mhm.
like black smokers, like a Wiz Khalifa, Snoop Dogg, or some shit like that, also enjoy Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle and pretty much the sequels too, because there is something to be said about that. Pineapple Express and them incorporating like or integrating into like stoner culture and that being black culture too to some extent.
Yeah, Harold and Kumar is definitely a cult classic.
Mm-hmm.
And then this last one, which is probably one of my favorite buddy films, is House Party. And you could include Class Act in that, House Party too, but Kid and Play in general, like they're the
Yep.
epitome of like buddies. So,
Yep.
you did ask this question about what is your favorite buddy comedy of all time and why. And I think mine would definitely be House Party. I think it's one of the first movies that I like fully gravitated to, just like the culture of the 90s, like being young and free and like sneaking out the house, doing all the things that teenagers do. And then, of course, like the dancing aspect, Tisha Campbell, who's a legend. I don't know. I just think House Party is an amazing classic movie. So I also
Fair.
put The Wood. The Wood's one of my favorite movies ever, um, which again is like a coming of age movie, classic for me. So I would probably consider probably the two of those, and then Baps is probably high on the list also.
Damn. Okay. Well, I'm gonna take a left turn here. My favorite like buddy comedies of all time are actually not black buddy comedies, but they are fucking hilarious. So my number one, hands down, is Superbad. I thought that that really shifted like teen comedies in general to put Jonah Hill and Michael Cera as these awkward, and maybe there was some of me like reflected in that. Like you got these awkward nerds trying to kind of figure out where they fit into society. They're not like outcasts or anything like that. Yeah, they get picked on and shit like that. But it's a coming of age with just like a whole lot of like fucking shenanigans, man. Like you see them go through this movie, you see them trying to figure out like how to navigate the summer before going to college and trying to maintain their friendship, but they're also like growing in different directions. And there's a whole lot of fucking jokes. Seth drawing all those dicks and then getting caught and having to go to therapy for drawing nothing but big veiny dicks is hilarious to me. Um, Fucking McLovin as a character is hilarious to me. There's just so many quotables from Superbad that I still use. I still to this day tell people like if they leave me alone somewhere, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to stand here like Steven fucking Glansberg, and nobody gets the reference. And I'm like, there's this really small moment in Superbad where Seth is sitting at the table and Michael Cera leaves him, and he's like, I'm supposed to sit here like Steven Glansberg, and it cuts to this kid eating pudding by himself, and that shit is hilarious to me. So I love Superbad. It's one of my favorites of all time. If I had to pick a second buddy comedy, it would actually be Step Brothers because
Oh
fucking
yeah, you love
quotables.
that movie.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, the quotables and Step Brothers, and then like we'll probably get into some of these other ones too. They're probably on a list somewhere, but
Whatever. Your third one is Bridesmaids. Don't don't get it twisted.
probably Bridesmaids. Then we get in the Hangover. Like my whole top 10 probably is just, I'm sorry, whitewashed. I don't feel good about it, but
No,
they're
man, it's
hilarious.
okay. I accept you for who you are, and that's why I was very surprised that this list was so black.
I did
And
my best. I did my best for you guys, the
but it's okay. We
viewers.
could do a white version. There's always time. There's
I
always time.
appreciate you. I appreciate it. Ah, that was good.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of our Black Goat Buddy comedies. We hope that you guys continue to listen to the season, share this episode with a friend, and make sure you're following us because we're doing trivia nights in New York City and we want to see you there. So we can't wait for you to tune into the next episode. And until always, love always. I'm Mia.
I'm Trish.
Bye.